Good evening, everyone. My name is Darcel Washington. I'll be the Zoom host for this evening. I just want to thank you guys for joining our third annual Restorative Justice Conference. This year it is virtual. Our theme is the medicine wheel, balancing humanity. The medicine wheel is an ancient tool that's used for healing and dis-ease prevention. This week's focus is the mental quadrant. Our workshop leaders for this session are Cody Cotton and Josh Easter. This dynamic duo has led many social and emotional learning workshops through their organization, A Greater Good Foundation. They have been blessed to transform the lives of numerous underprivileged male youth by providing them with opportunities to excel in life. Cody Cotton is the co-founder and the chief of heart of A Greater Good Foundation. This organization was co-founded by a few young men to educate and serve diverse communities through unique service opportunities, mentor youth, and house young men in a residential extended learning community. As they work towards their goal of building Chicago's first residential high school for high-risk youth, Cody co-founded a holistic fitness company, Rapture Lifestyle. Throughout his mission, Cody aims to create safe spaces that not only allow people to build perspective, understanding, and community, but to show up as their best selves. Since then, Cody has excelled in his passion of philanthropy and education by advocating AGGF's cause on platforms such as WGCI, NBC News, and TEDx. He is persistently focused on his mission of serving and educating globally. Mr. Josh Easter. Josh Easter is Chief Operating Officer of A Greater Good Foundation. Growing up around different communities in Chicago and Proviso Township, it made him want to improve neighborhoods that were less fortunate economically. He attended St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he majored in sports management. He also earned his master's degree in sports administration from Northwestern University, while also working as a teaching assistant for children with autism. He strives to create positive relationships and improve self-confidence through restorative practices, sports, recreation, personal development, and mentorship. He's been able to follow his passion at A Greater Good Foundation while also starting Greater Gains Health and Recreation, a sports and recreation company for young people with special needs. To learn more about A Greater Good Foundation, visit their website at www.agreatergoodfoundation.org. Guys, give it up for Mr. Josh Easter and Cody Cott.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the crowd goes wild.
Thank you.
Darcy, a few people did say that they're waiting also, so I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Admit all. We're good.
Thank you for the edification. That was
amazing. Right. You know,
you're very welcome.
Thank you. So I guess I would kick things off.
Bro.
Okay. Well, first, thank you again, Darcel, for the edification. Before we get started, we always start by honoring the space, but I want to do something very, very intentional with how we start. If everyone can, if you're able to, if you're not driving, we're just going to start off with a little bit of grounding. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. So if you can, close your eyes. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. We will not do it on my count because my breathing is different from your breathing. So whenever you're ready, close your eyes. You can start. And when you're ready to join us again, you can open your eyes. So we'll start now. All right, thank you.
Everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So we like to start with doing some type of grounding, some type of breathing, some type of opportunity to make us be present, not worry about what happened, back in the past, what probably happened earlier in the day. We're not trying to worry about anything that's coming up in the future. We want to be present, and by focusing on our breath, our breathing, we allow ourselves to be present right now, right now. So just starting off, we just want to give homage. We want to honor those who came before us by showing love, and that the opportunity to breathe was also an opportunity just to pay homage to people that came before us. Restorative practices is something that's indigenous to this land. People who've already came before us. So starting off, we want to do something to honor them, and we just did. So even going off into that, we want to talk about what the Oak Park Public Library means to us, and also what the Oak Park Restorative Justice Conference means to us. So this is our third year. Our first 2 years was incredible. We're used to doing something in person. We're used to bringing people from all walks of life, diverse communities together. And this year, we had to, not necessarily panic due to COVID, but we had to pivot. And we ended up making a shift. And this turned into something that, continue to be a month long. And I just think that this concept is amazing. So I don't want to take too much time, but the theme of this RJ conference is very intentional to what we need right now in life and the balance we're seeking. So I want to throw it your way, East, and let you dive in.
Appreciate it, bro. As you all know, this 2020 conference is different, and it's different for a reason that we all know. COVID, everything's been going on, but we also know that it's been a lot of things going on with racism, social justice, exactly Cody's shirt, systemic progression. But the reason why the medicine wheel was so important, because as Darcel talked about earlier, it represents balance. It represents holistic health. So for us, it was tough choosing between mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical, because these are all pillars within our organization, things that we believe in. But we chose the mental for a specific reason. That reason was that we started in college really studying a lot about the mind, a lot about our thoughts, we studied something called thinking into results. So we talked about how things start with our thoughts. So how our thoughts lead to a change in our habits, and our habits lead to a change in our results. So we became hungry to learn more about the mental, learn more about the mindset, and we dove deep into it. And through this, we became confident in what we could add to our community. And a lot of it was just mindset. It was a lot of just goal setting. It was a lot of visioneering. It was a lot of knowing what you want. And we did this in our early to mid 20s. So for us, we're going to be telling a lot of stories about this journey. But that's restorative as well. You guys will learn more about us. You guys will be able to see things that relate to you, the similarities, commonalities, that things that maybe drove us to take this step to start this organization, and it might make you take a step in your life. So, man, I just want to pass it back to you, Cody, talk a little bit about the title of this workshop and why we chose that.
Yes. So the title is Perpetual. Here we go. Perpetual Self Learning, though. And shout out to our OG, Stephen Jackson, for giving us this when we got done with our RJ training. But Perpetual Self Learning, we mentioned earlier, if you think about it, literally the essence of our being, if we're looking at nature, everything in nature is growing, everything is moving up towards the sun. And I think that's powerful in itself. When we say perpetual self-learning, it's constantly self-assessing, constantly evaluating, constantly figuring out, what can I do better? What does the best version of me look like? Constantly thinking, trying to figure out what can I do to be better, but also just constantly figuring out, hey, how can I learn more about myself? We are in this space of social emotional learning. A lot of us, we have our scholastic, we have our academics, that's great, but there's a component that's missing. And we need to focus on the social emotional that allows us to understand who we are. Most of our emotions, 90% of it is subconscious. So if we're not understanding about the mind, we're not getting a chance to break down, understand about our emotions. So through this, I just want to give a little bit of a story. to kind of talk about how we got involved into personal development, how we got involved into this lifestyle that's very restorative about learning more about yourself. Because when you learn more about yourself, you understand the commonality that you can understand other people a lot better. So back in 2012, graduated from high school, went to Valparaiso University, Northwest Indiana, played college football. And through that experience, it was amazing. But what I took from that the most, it was about the people that I met. And from the people that I met, I met my guy. I met my brother, Chuck Carter. And through that experience, we started a network marketing company. I'm not going to get off into the logistics. I'm not going to talk about how we were doing, how we were killing it. But one thing I want you to take away is when the business left, we still kept the model of reading, speaking, anything you could imagine that young guys are hungry in the basement about getting excited. We started learning more about ourselves. So we followed this concept. We were hungry about money being in college at that time. But one thing our mentor told us was, you can't grow your money until you grow yourself as a person. If your money is right here and who you are as a person, your self-awareness, eventually will balance out. But if your money is right here, this is where you're at, everything will always be in direct correlation to who you are as a person. So that stuck to us. It wasn't just about the money. It was everything in our life, what we were attracting, what frequency we were on, what things we were pulling back in our life. So throughout that journey of college, we got heavily involved into personal development. 2016, when we graduated, we look at Memorial Day weekend, 69 people shot in one weekend. It resonated with us because we were from those neighborhoods. Over half of them was underneath the age of 25, and they looked like us. Besides that point, we just understood that we could be a part of the solution. We say it all the time. We didn't want to be Facebook lawyers. We didn't want to be Twitter warriors. We want to come out and actually have some type of action, have some type of agenda, and be a part of the solution. So for us, perpetual learning is just the beginning. It's not something you do 1 year. It's not something you do on New Year's. It's something you do every day. You figure out what is the best version you look like, and you figure out how you could help affect that and affect other people in your life. So East, I'm gonna throw it back towards you. Not necessarily on perpetual learning, but balancing humanity.
Man, just gonna piggyback off of that. The medicine wheel, balancing humanity as the theme for 2020, it fits so well. And perpetual learning, the mental, it just stuck out to us. So first off, we want to stress, like, this is the Restorative Justice Conference. We do work from a restorative framework where we get in circle and we have a talking piece, we pass it around, and that's something that we love to do. But we know that this restorative framework that we use, it's not just something we do in circle. It's not just something that we do in programming, but it's a lifestyle, something that we take with us in our relationships. And that doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean that we're always happy in all of our relationships, but it does mean that we work to repair harm, and we work to understand each other, and we work to build perspective and build understanding, and to be a part of a real community. We have a community called Let's Grow Together. So that's something that we love. So, but more, it's about more than just that community that we've created. It's about being a part of this RJ community. It's about being a part of our Toastmasters community, the communities that we come from. But we always want to add value into the spaces that we go. So I just want to stress that as we work on ourselves and we reflect, a lot of times we do it in our own, in our solitude, but in circle as well, when we're hearing responses from other people and we're thinking about ourselves and we're reflecting and we're hearing people and we can relate to that. But all of that is to come back, and as we learn more about ourselves, we can learn more about what we can add to the community. I've always been taught that we all have our own individuals' gifts and talents that can add value to other people. So again, we want to stress the importance of the self-work, but the reflection that leads to in the work that you do in the community, of being conscious and aware and how that can affect your community. So Cody, I just want to go back to you and talk about how we self-assess, how we become self-aware.
I got you. Thank you. So if you have a pen or a pencil, or even if you just like, man, I just got to come back to this later, I'm going to type notes on my phone. We're going to talk about perpetual self-learning. We're going to talk about the ability to self-assess. And we're going to talk about why that is important. So when anyone sets a goal in life, that's amazing. That's really huge, to be honest, because not too many people set goals. I'm not just talking about regular goals. I'm talking about goals that make you stretch, goals that make you uncomfortable, goals that make you grow. If you're doing that, man, pat yourself on the back right now. But that's half the battle. The first thing you got to do is figure out where you want to go. But the second part that's really, really key, and why we talk about self-awareness, is because you have to figure out where you're at right now. If you can imagine this, matter of fact, how many iPhone users we have out here? Raise your hand for the iPhone users. If you got an Android, sorry, we can't relate. This isn't for you. No, I'm messing with you. Right. So if you have an iPhone, imagine this. When usually you need to go somewhere, you put in your maps, boom, boom, boom. Need to go here. Maybe we need to go to Maywood. When you go to Maywood, right away, your phone already has your location. And only thing you need to do is hit go. It already knows where you want to go because you set the agenda, and automatically your phone is recalibrating and letting you know where you're at. But your goals is the same way. But no one is going to tell you where you're at. You got to do that work and figure it out for yourself. Imagine putting something in your map, say we're going to Bolingbrook, and you didn't have a location where you're at right now, then how are you going to get there? The GPS doesn't work that way. So for us, if we're going to set a goal, first thing we have to do is figure out, like, yo, where am I at right now? If we want to set a goal in our relationship or our marriage, like, yo, where am I at right now? If we want to make more money, we got to start off like, where am I at in terms of my financial literacy? Have I been reading books? So we're talking about things like that. So the quality of the question will determine the quality of the answer. The more quality questions we can ask ourselves, the more quality answers we're going to get. Every time we ask a question consciously, subconsciously, we already know the answer to it. That's just how it works. Most of the time we don't get it right away. It's just we haven't spent enough time doing it. Subconsciously, we always know the answer. So for us, starting off, we're going to go through the 4 E's. You can write down 4 E's on your sheet of paper. And this would be more so the bulk of the lesson before we pass it back to E's. But the first E is evaluate. We said it before. We have to figure out where we're at in our life. And it starts by asking quality questions. It starts by being honest with yourself. It starts by holding yourself accountable. It starts by being vulnerable enough to be like, hey, maybe it won't just be for me getting the answer. Maybe I have to find a mentor and ask somebody. That's the first E. Evaluate, evaluate, evaluate. The second E is eliminate. Figure out, hey, what's not working for me? What do I need to take out of my life in order to get the results I want? So for instance, if you're looking like, hey, give me an example. E. What type of example are you trying to go for? If we're looking to eliminate something, somebody set a goal to make us be more productive or efficient, right?
Man, I'll tell you, sports talk was what got me, what I had to eliminate a lot of it. I love to listen to them debate about sports, but it's on all day. Sports talk is on from early morning until as long as you're up. So that's something that I just had to eliminate to get where I wanted to go.
Exactly. So you're trying to figure out, what do you need to eliminate out your life? What habits do you have that are not serving you? And we're going to get off into that component of habits, because your habits are in direct correlation to the results you have in any area of your life. So after we figure out, okay, this is what we're eliminating, this is what we're removing, the next step, that third E, is evolve. Evolve. What habits do we need to put back in place? What do we need to put back in our life to help us get to our goals? And just, if you're trying to figure out if I'm eliminating the right thing and if I'm evolving the right thing, an easy way for you to find out, just look at your goal. Are your habits in direct correlation to the goal that you want? If you want to be more happy, start a habit of writing down 10 things you're grateful for every morning. If you want to have a result of, hey, maybe I just want to cast off a couple of pounds. It's not necessarily saying that, hey, I gotta work out every day, but it's just maybe Googling and understanding that 70% of it comes from the kitchen, 30% of it comes from working out. It's just doing the small things like that, right? And then the last but not least, is execute. execute, execute, execute. It's one thing to mentally know something, but it's another thing to spiritually become it. It's one thing to mentally know something from reading it, but it's one thing to spiritually become it from already being it. So it's consciously being the person that you're trying to be. Not thinking about that goal, but thinking, this is a little tricky when I say this, but not thinking about that goal of want to be fit, but thinking from the person who's already fit. That's taking the consciousness of the person you want to be. Not just thinking about the goal, think from that goal, consistently executing it every single day until it becomes a habit. And the reason why we want it to become a habit, because once it becomes a habit, and this is what I love about habits, your body knows it better than your mind. You don't have to wake up in the morning and figure out which sock you're going to put on first. We used to start off driving a car and we're 10 and 2, 10 and 2, you know, and now, you know, parents know this best. You're drinking coffee, you're driving one hand, you're turning up the radio, and you're checking the mirror at the same time. We unconsciously do this. So the goal is to evaluate every single day, figure out what you could do to get better, eliminate what's not helping you get there, add what is helping you get there, continue to recalibrate, self-assess every single time, and figure out, is this what I need to do to match my goals? And then last but not least, execute every time until it turns into a habit and it becomes unconscious. And like someone great said, I can't remember him, but excellence is a habit. Who said that? Was that Plato? It wasn't Plato. Who was it? Was that Julian Caesar? No, let me stop. Okay, I'm gonna throw it back towards you, East. Really about the start of the foundation, man. If you can,
yeah, for sure.
How we implement workshops like that with our youth, helping them self-assess, setting goals, and really rewarding them.
Yeah, so for us, at the beginning of our journey, at the beginning of our foundation, we didn't know what to do, honestly. We had a passion, we had a vision for sure, but we didn't know how to get there. But one thing that we did, we're talking about mental, we studied. So we looked for people who were doing things that we wanted to do. We looked for people in the spaces that we wanted to be in. So for us, a huge thing was to go into the communities that we wanted to be a part of. And we found the Chamber of Commerce meetings. We found the community meetings. We found where the decision makers were going to be. And we told them what we wanted to do. And a lot of them looked at us like we were crazy. A lot of them looked at us like we were naive and we were just some young guys. And we were going to start this foundation and it'll be over with in a couple years. We heard a lot of naysayers, but for us, we were passionate. We had a purpose. So we got to it. And we made our vision and we figured out a way to make it happen. So for us, we started with Mecca Elementary School, a school in Bellwood, a school that we grew up near. And they gave us opportunity. They saw some young Black men who wanted to make some changes, and they loved us. They embraced us, and they let us learn. They let us grow. They helped us sharpen our tools. They helped us grow our curriculum. We created a random curriculum that we wanted to test out. So they let us pilot the program with them. And from that point, everything that we were learning, we brought it right to our youth. And Cody, I'm gonna pass it back to you and let you tell the rest of the story about, man, just what came from just that experience with the youth and just growing with them.
Oh, well, just again, shout out to Mecca. That experience was amazing. Because even at that time, you know, we're going in the classroom. I personally just got out of college and just figuring out how can we teach them better? How can we make them grow more? So same thing we just mentioned before, we did for them. We set a goal. We set a goal for them. We said, hey, if you guys could do this, their goal was to carry their gold cards with them every day, the gold cards, because we want to be conscious of what we're working on 24/7. Every time we touch it, unconsciously, it sends waves back up to our mind, let us know what we're focused on. So they had to carry their gold card with them every day. The second thing they had to do, they had to write out a gratitude list. Every day, they had to write down 10 things they were grateful for. Now, this is a little different. I started writing with my left hand, and I'm a little bit over 200 days writing out my disciplines, my affirmations with my left hand. And that is something that's another That's another life hack when it comes down to forming that habit. Just because you build different neural pathways in your mind when you're doing things that you're not usually doing. So, for instance, writing with your left hand. And through that experience, by carrying that gold card, having their 10 things they're grateful for list every morning, we were like, okay, this is the reward. And the reward was taking them out, not necessarily taking them out the country, but taking them to anywhere they want to go in the world. And we told them, hey, think big, think crazy, wherever you want to go. Starting off, we heard a lot of stuff that wasn't worldwide.
Six Flags.
Six Flags, right? Six Flags.
Wisconsin Dells.
Wisconsin Dells. We're just like, guys, think big. Like, we're talking about Hawaii. We're talking about out the country. And we're like, okay, guys, we're just going to take this up. We're going to surprise you. So what we end up doing, we end up taking 14 young men and women out the country to Niagara Falls, Canada. And that was our first year in the nonprofit. And that was really huge for us just because it built up the confidence that we had that we could literally create whatever impact we want to create for our youth.
Man, for us too. That was my first time out the country. So sharing that experience with our youth as well.
Yeah. Amen. Exactly. So that experience was everything. Being able to hop on a coach bus, all expense paid. The only thing that the kids had to pay for was their passports. And that was it was everything. I just remember seeing the kid's face when we were crossing the border. I just remember just everything about it. I remember the way the flag was waving. It was a little bit different. For us to be able to go to a wonder of the world, for us to be able to go on the river of Niagara Falls, for us to eat dinner at the highest place there in Ontario at the Little Needle. I forget what it's called. But those things that, you don't forget about. And as we say all the time, with unique experiences, one of our pillars of the foundation, a child can't be what a child can't see. Once you take the opportunity to build their perspective on life and what's out there, you change their perspective on self and what all that they can do. So that was it for that story. East, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Appreciate it, bro. Again, we're talking about expanding our mental and creating that vision. Expanding that vision is a part of that. Now, expanding that vision for us was what allowed us to do what we've been able to do. So we'll be telling a lot of stories. Again, this is just letting you guys know the mental work that we've done, the personal work that we've done, and how we've implemented it into our organization has opened up every door that we talked about. What we wrote down on our visions, what we wrote down on our goal cards is coming true. So we're here to tell y'all about like what we're doing, empower everybody here, but also to just give like real tangible steps that you can do to create your own reality, honestly. So just to go back again, studying ourselves, studying the people around us, studying people who have done what we wanted to do. So Niagara Falls, that was a great opportunity, but we still weren't where we wanted to be. We still weren't the organization we wanted to be. We weren't the people. We weren't as stable as we wanted to be. So we went back to the drawing boards. And we went into the cave, that's what we call it, where we were just learning more about the nonprofit sector, learning more about grants, learning more about funding. And these are things that we didn't go to school for. So we were already, we took on this mission and we just made it happen. So I'm just going to name a few people who helped us bridge that gap. So focusing on ourselves, it brought so many people who had like minds, who were doing things that we wanted to do into our lives. So I promise, when you focus on yourself, when you study your mind, when you look to expand your mental, it'll be people who come into your lives who will add value and will help you get there. So I'm just going to name a couple people. Corey, one of our board members, dean of students at Triton College at the time, started a program for first generation minority men at Triton College. He loved what we were doing. He brought us on as mentors. He helped us create programs for our kids and helped us become AmeriCorps affiliates, which is eventually how we met Steven Jackson through a training doing AmeriCorps. And we came into a training, and it was a centerpiece, and it was a candle lit, and it was talking pieces, and we had no idea what was about to go on. We just we knew we were going to a training, but it was just different. Most of the trainings that we had done at that point were PowerPoints. It just was boring. You know, we kind of dreaded the trainings, honestly. But this training was different. We experienced what restorative practices was. We experienced what a peace circle was. And at that point, we had heard what a peace circle was, but we never experienced it. Nobody ever painted a clear picture. So that day, about 3 years ago, that was the day that really changed so much within our organization, because we found tools and step-by-step processes on how to create a safe space, how to create equitable space, how to come together with shared values, shared guidelines. And that has allowed so many doors to open up for our organization as well. So shout out to Stephen Jackson, OG. Again, West 40, Angela and Mark, two more people who are, Mark is the executive director of West 40, an organization they work with. Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, 152 school districts, pretty much everything west of the city in Cook County, from Oak Park, all of Proviso Township, River Forest, Leiden, Morton, every school within West Cook County. He's the head of that. And they have opened up doors, opened up opportunities for us to come work with their programs. And they are very selective of who they bring in those programs. But they saw something in us. They saw the hunger. They saw the passion. And they saw our hunger to learn. Again, this is perpetual self-learning. This has been a journey that we've been taking since college, and it hasn't stopped. And again, it's just opened so many doors. So all these people have added amazing value to us as people, to our organizations, and it's just gone so far. So Cody, I'm gonna pass it back to you. Share a little bit more about the journey.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Right now, since we are a little bit over halfway, I would love just to stop and see if there are any questions, and then if there are not any questions, I'm definitely going to ask a question to the rest of the group. Let's see. Are we all good? Okay, perfect. So this next question I'm going to ask to the rest of the group. You can write it down. If you want to respond and comment, feel free to raise your hand. But this is just for you right now. What does the best version of you look like? What does the best version of you look like mentally? What does the best version of you look like physically? What does the best version of you look like in your profession? If you're a teacher, how do you walk in the classroom? How do you greet your kids? How does the best version of you look like as you prepare for your next day? So as we stated before, the quality of the question will always determine the quality of the answer. And that's something we have to do in our journey. So after we got done doing our first year, we self-assessed. We literally asked the same questions. What does the best version of this company look like? What does the best version of our impact look like? So when we were working in the classroom in West 40, we were loving the impact we were making. We were loving just to see the change. Just to see the change stood out to us. But when we went back down to the drawing board, we said, hey, they're making impact, they're making change. But when they go back home, it just seems like they're resetting. And we're like, okay, what can we do? What can we do? Are we thinking big enough? We started asking questions. Are we spending enough time in the classroom? Are we having enough touches? Do we need to have something, a virtual component? And from that talk, we ended up having a long conversation. It was actually at West 40 on a board. And we said, hey, we need to start the boarding school. We literally need to start the boarding school. So that was something that was kind of like a crazy big idea at first. But as we start to see the need for it, it started to become a lot more tangible, a lot more practical. It came a lot more ideal and logical. So from that experience, we took off to action. The next thing you know, we're traveling in the country, from Pennsylvania to Iowa to Illinois, visiting the top boarding schools in the country, studying for curriculum, studying for endowment, finances, anything we could possibly figure out to create the better picture and clarity. So if you guys think about it, if we could take a step back, the first thing we did in the 4 E's to get into our goals, we evaluated. We have to ask ourselves, are we doing what we need to do? Can we figure that out? The second thing we have to do is eliminate. Let's stop. Let's figure out what's not working. And in that situation, it wasn't necessarily saying that we get rid of a program, but it was more so, let's get rid of the mindset of thinking that we got to figure it out right now. Let's get out of that. And what can we do to evolve? And once we figured that out, we wrote everything on a board. We hit the ground running. We traveled the country. That was the action that we did. We were executing on that every single day. And we had a meeting. I'll never forget this. Which one you think I'm talking about? Eddie Melton?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a meeting. We were blessed and fortunate enough to have a meeting with Senator Eddie Melton in Indiana. And, we're just excited in the room. We tell them about this boarding school, how we're going to have this, we're going to have that. It's going to be like an IMG Academy, but we're going to do it for all high-risk youth in Chicago. It's going to be like top-notch. The whole thing you could imagine. I mean, we're ambitious. We're creative with it. And he posed a question. He said, before you throw millions and millions of dollars into a brick and mortar establishment, won't you have a proof of concept first? So in order for us to do that, we have to sacrifice one of the components of the boarding school. And not necessarily sacrifice, but we'll say the word substitute. So what portion or component of the boarding school will be willing to maybe partner with somebody with for right now until we can eventually do it how we want to do it? So we said, okay, I think the residential component is really, really important. It's an element to what we need to do. School, it is very, very important for what we need to do. But for right now, we could partner with the neighboring public school, and we chose Calumet Township. And as we chose that school, we ended up buying a house in Gary, Indiana, where we could house, at its max, up to 10 to 12 students. We were blessed to have well over enough square footage, a decent amount of acres, and it allowed us to be able to create the environment we needed to create. So for us, that residential home was that, and just leaving that story and thinking about that story, why it was important to us, because every time we think about it and we think about how we got to where we got right now, we think about the people that helped us get there. And they didn't help us get there, or they didn't pour into us just because we were anybody, but they poured into us because we were pouring into ourselves. You tend to believe in somebody who believes in themselves. You tend to want to help someone who is already helping themselves. So that process and that journey only validated more and more of why we want to live a restorative lifestyle, why we want to live a lifestyle of continually self-assessing. Why do we want to live a lifestyle of having a goal and taking action towards getting that every day? So just thinking about that as you guys continue to evaluate, eliminate, evolve, and execute. Ask yourself constantly every day, what is the best version you look like? What is the best version you look like in your marriage? What is the best version you look like as a mother, as a father, as a son? Whoever you identify to be, what is the best version you look like? And unconsciously, that would be a question that pops up in your head every morning. And then East, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Appreciate it, bro. Man, just going back a little bit on something that Cody spoke on, being in a classroom at West 40 with students who have been kicked out of Proviso East and West, it was a very eye-opening experience. Asking the kids, what do they want? And most of the time they were talking about the results. They didn't really know what they wanted. So we were asking them, what do they want to be, or what type of careers do they want to pursue? And most of them, it was the same careers. And not that any of these careers are bad. I'm not even going to name any careers because all these careers are important. But it was always the same careers that they seen from the people around them. So an experience that was amazing that we got to do with our kids was we got to come back to the school that we started at, Proviso East, and do a football camp with Champ Kelly, who is the assistant director of player personnel for the Chicago Bears. And all of the Bears rookies came out. 30 Bears rookies came out. So just this restorative framework has done so much for us, how we started in this school, how we were able to get opportunities to go other places, do programs, and then come back to the school that we started at, show them love, have this camp that we really had no clue how to do. We knew we had we had no clue how it would happen. We didn't know these people, but it was just the work that we put in, and things that we put on that vision. We said that we wanted to do sports. My background is sports management, sports administration. All of us college athletes, but we got into the education component of it first because it was an easy area to get to. I mean, it wasn't easy, but it was the area that needed Black men, and it was the area that people accepted us in first. But we always said we wanted to get back to sports. So again, this is expanding the vision. That's a huge part of that mental. We were able to experience what we said we would do with the kids 3 years prior. And we were able to bring 30 Bears rookies into the school right next to the building that we were at. So again, about expanding your vision, expanding that mental, and once you're able to expand that mental, you're able to have faith and able to chase after it. So, no, we're not going to talk about spiritual, but expanding our mental has definitely expanded our faith component and has allowed us to just go get it and to get out our comfort zone. And Cody, you want to tell another story?
Man, actually on time, we're actually looking at wrapping it up. If I could do anything, just to kind of bring it back to the top again, we talked heavy in terms of like storytelling, because storytelling is a big component of RJ.
Yeah.
But even if I could bring it back to some of the things we first talked about with honoring the land for the people who came in front of us, because this is an indigenous tradition. People who've already came before us been doing this for years on years, on decades, on decades, on decades, and understanding that the restorative process, circle keeping, we didn't get a chance to dive into it too crazy, but it is an opportunity for people to come together, build perspective, understanding, and community. And through that framework, you learn more about your community, you learn more about yourself. It's not common that you sit down in a circle with people you never met before and you check in and say how you feel. You answer questions, something maybe like what's your favorite animal and why? If you had a superpower, what would it be? And then things that's a little bit deeper. What's the best thing anybody ever done for you? What's the proudest you ever made your parents? What's the area in your life that you're working on, but you still haven't quite hit that yet? Being able to answer those, you get a chance to see the human being in each person. You get a chance to see beyond Black, beyond white. You get a chance to see beyond gender. You get a chance to see beyond social, economic status. It allows people to be present. It allows people to be real. So I love that component because what we're doing right now, we've been blessed not only to do with our kids, we've been able to do this with any programs we run and parents, staff, faculty. And one story definitely jumped into my mind. Just last year was huge for us. We got to see a lot of things move full speed, really fast pace. And it's because we were finally finishing up, well, kind of close to finishing up things on the house. But that allowed us to have a lot more clarity of what we want to figure out for what's coming next. And it allows us to just kind of get back to the table and say, hey, how can we do better in the classroom? As business owners, we're not just in the classroom running circles. We're also doing a lot of things on the back office that a lot of people don't get a chance to see. So in that situation, we finally got a chance to just do a little bit more self-assessing. And it's funny because around that time, that's when we first started doing peace circles with Social Works, Chance the Rapper's nonprofit. We did it at KOK, the Kids of the Kingdom. Chance the Rapper grandma started it years ago. And we were blessed with the opportunity to come there once a week and build circle, help them understand more about themselves, help them build a perspective of what their life could be, as well as just what they want in life and what they want in general. So that's just something that just touched on me right away. I want to mention that.
Cody, can I add value to that story as well?
Of course.
Appreciate it, bro. I think was a testimony of just how this journey has taken us so far and how expanding our vision has taken us so far. Pretty much in every meeting in the first few years, people were saying, Chance the Rapper just started his organization. We started the same summer. So people were just like, y'all should connect with them. Like, that's a good connection. And we would just laugh like, yeah, you're right. But like, we don't know him. Like, you feel me?
Right. Let me call him right now.
Right.
We gonna
Appreciate you. Right. You got his number. Just doing the work and being out here and honestly having faith in ourselves, putting ourselves in situations, like I said earlier, that made us a little bit uncomfortable, but we were learning. Again, this is about perpetual self-learning. So we are learning more about ourselves and about how we can add value to our community, how we can add value to different organizations. What was our UVP, our unique value? So from there, 2 years later, we ended up meeting Justin, the executive director of social works. So again, it didn't happen right away. It happened about 3 years into the organization. So it's not going to come right away. It takes patience. But once you put the work in, once you put the vision down and you take the necessary steps, you'll get there.
I love that, man. Right away when you said it, man, I'm just thinking about it. Faith in God, faith in self, and faith in purpose. Those keys allow you to accomplish anything you can imagine, literally. Faith in God, faith in self, and faith in purpose. So thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you for watching this, for tuning in. Still, if there's any questions, if there's any comments, any concerns, anything, feel free to type in the chat or feel free just to comment and let us know. But we're going to leave about 20 seconds for that.
Thank you guys so much. Like, that was some rich content. That was awesome. I feel like I know you guys even more now. I thought I already knew you, but I feel like I know you a little bit more. And you know, with being an entrepreneur, with working with young people, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of consistency. It takes heart. It takes dedication. It takes so much. So with the perpetual self-learning, I like how you guys explained self-love, like you really took the time out to develop yourself before just trying to give, because oftentimes you can not really make sure that your cup is full, but then try and pour out. But you guys took the time and say, you know what, this is what we want to do. This is our end goal. So we're going to actually take out a moment to dedicate time to learn, you know, about the financial concept. We're going to learn about what it takes to be entrepreneurs. We're going to learn about building our mental, building our physical, so that we can be the best version of ourselves. So, you know, I tell you guys all the time, I appreciate you guys. I love the work that you're doing. I don't even think you guys said anything about like feeding the homeless and all of that other good stuff. Like, that's pretty big.
No, not at all. We appreciate you, but thank you for highlighting that. Yeah, we'll get the story down one day.
Yeah, but yeah, I love what you guys are doing. I think you guys work is very tremendous, and I'm just glad that the youth have you, you know, have you as examples, have you as cornerstones, you know, to keep lifting them up, to keep motivating them, and just kind of showing them that light, showing them that it is possible. Because oftentimes when young people see, you know, the world and they see the streets and they see the gun violence and they see all of the crime, they don't look at the fact that there's still opportunity. They don't look at the fact that there's still hope. So I think that when you guys come around, you bring hope. So always keep that in your back pocket and know that what you have to bring to the table is important. And, you know, I know that it's not easy work. It's not easy work at all, but you guys do it very gracefully, and you come with so much peace and so much joy. And I think that you guys allow yourselves to really give your full selves, if that makes sense. So I just appreciate what you guys are doing. I'm thankful that you guys said yes to do this workshop and just share more of what you guys are doing. So, everybody on here, I think some of you guys are family, but some of you guys might not know, Cody and Josh, but they are some people that you definitely should know, that you should support. And their motto is let's grow together. So definitely grow with them.
We love you. We love you, love you, love you. Appreciate it.
And still, we feel the same about you. This whole restorative community that we've met through this process, man, it's just been so much love. So we're just grateful. We couldn't pass this up. This our third year being a part of the conference. So, and we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody a part of this community, family, friends. Man, just all love. We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you. We see all the comments. We appreciate you guys.
Shout out to Andy on here. Feel real in the house.
Hey, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Your pops on here. Love you guys.
Just want to give a real quick announcement that the conference is still going on. So starting back up next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Feel real. They are on every day of the conference except for the last day from 5 to 6. So they're holding space. So Cody and Josh were talking about those peace circles. They're offering that space for peace circles. So definitely try to register for that. I'm actually doing a workshop next Friday, myself, next Friday morning at 11:15. And I'll be talking about the spirit of kindness. So if you can register for that as well.
I like that. Okay.
I like that. We tapping in.
Thank you. I appreciate the support. Hope everybody has have an amazing weekend. Look forward to connecting with you guys next week.
Okay. Sounds good. Take care, everyone. If you want to find out more about us, you can visit our social media, Facebook, Instagram. It's just A Greater Good Foundation, aggfd.org, or you can just go to Facebook and just type in Let's Grow Together. Appreciate everyone.
All right, John.
Awesome. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.